All right, so it's 3 p.m. and we are all set to begin with today's webinar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are all set to begin with another simulating session on connecting the dots. First of all, we would like to thank our esteemed speakers for being part of this panel discussion. So welcoming Mr. Sagar Vadapurkar, VP and Head, People Success and Culture, Exat India. Ms. Prableen Kaur, HR Head, Imperial Auto Industries Limited. Mr. Milind Mutallik, Head, Employee Experience, ex-Acolyte Digital, and Ms. Tina Matthew, Head Human Resources of NSC IT. In the recent years, the integration of artificial intelligence and automation technologies has revolutionized various industries, including human resources. These advancements have introduced new possibilities and efficiencies in HR processes such as recruitment, employee management, and data analysis. However, the increased reliance on AI and automation in the HR industry also raises significant ethical concerns. This webinar explores the ethical implications of AI and automation in HR, discusses topics such as bias, privacy, transparency, and the human touch. Our esteemed panelists would be sharing their views on this insightful topic, ethics of AI and automation in the human resource industry. HRAI welcomes you all on Connecting the Dots. To know more about HRAI, its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all participants to please give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our moderator for this session, Ms. Tina Matthew, Head Human Resources, NSC IT. Ms. Tina is the head HR of NSC IT Limited, a subsidiary of the third largest stock exchange in the world, overseeing HR strategy, transformation, and governance, total rewards, and talent acquisition. She is also a people ambassador for IT brands like Mastech and TCS. Ms. Tina is an avid speaker at forums, on board of studies at Swisscom's, award winner at Taipei HRD Congress HR Summit 22. She believes that going digital through AI is the next wave for HR professionals, and identifying ways to channelize this to society makes the purpose wholesome. You can follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without wasting much time, I will now hand over the platform to Ms. Tina. Over to you.
Thank you, Faisal. Very lovely introduction. And before we move on to that, I thought that, let's just have a view about what is the topic that we're talking about. And that's about ethics in the artificial intelligence space. And what is it that the HR industry has to do about it? So ethics of AI and automation in the HR industry. Now, a lot of you would be wondering, artificial intelligence, what's this, a new thing to come in place? As the word suggests, it's enhancement, it's an optimization, it's trying to get automation done through a very simple way. You have an algorithm, you have data, and you get this kind of an output. And why is it that HR is having to talk about it? It's because each one of you that is there on this call, you all are the conscience keepers of the organization. And as conscience keepers, ethics is something that rests in your hand. So how is this AI going to be used is something which my august panelists along with me, we're going to have this conversation along with you, and I hope you will also enjoy it. So let me take this privilege to introduce our panelists who are very much passionate about this subject. Mr. Sagar Vadapurkar. He's a VP and head of People Success and Culture, Exat India. He's a seasoned HR leader with around 20 years of success in building organization from scratch. And this is by streamlining their workforce, connecting them to visionary candidates. He has proven credentials of overseeing the TA, employee engagement, L&D, talent management, resource management, and shared services across geographies and manages an employee strength of almost 20,000 employees for market leaders from 9 domains. And this is in the space of insurance, fintech, real estate, capital markets, consumer finance, LED lighting, and technology and healthcare. He's got a remarkable record in leading cross-functional teams of 100 plus, and while serving as a member of the senior management team at the organization. He's an expert in conceptualizing huge transformation projects and implementing them with the required speed and quality, which makes an impact for the whole organization. And this is something that gets showcased in a lot of awards that he's won, namely CHRO of the Year from People First Excellence in 2021, HR Super Achiever of the Year by Indira Group of Institutions 2021, HR Leader of the Year, Economic Times Human Capital Awards for the year 21, and yes, awarded with the title of 101 Top HR Minds in India by CHRO Asia in the 27th edition of the World HRD Congress in 2018. So you can follow him on LinkedIn. The link of this has been shared in the chat window. The next panelist that I have is Mr. Milind Mutalik, Head, Employee Experience and ex-Acolyte Digital. He's an HR professional with almost 30 plus years of career experience, 2 decades with the information technology industry, 3 decades overall witnessed a change in the working dynamics, business world, workplace resources. He's managed the entire employee life cycle, yes, with 30 plus years of experience, especially in the facets of engagement, performance management, retention, HRMS, employee experience, handle digitization, analytics, mergers and acquisition, comp and ben, and the reward space. He's a certified psychometric tools and 360-degree assessment analyst, certified internal auditor in 18001 by DNV Norway, OSHA's Occupation Health and Safety Certification. You can follow him on LinkedIn. The link for him has also been shared in the chat window. And yes, my companion on the woman front, we have Ms. Prableen Kaur. She heads HR for Imperial Auto Industries Limited, an ardent change management, organization development enthusiast. She's been exploring herself along the journey and believes that learning is a continuous one. She has keen interest in the subject of emotional intelligence and effectiveness and bringing out the effective measures of EI for building emotional resilience. Associated with Soka Gakkai International, the organization which works on the principles of Buddhism for establishing world peace. Worked in various industry segments and currently associated with Imperial Auto Industries, industry leaders in fluid which are industry leaders in the fluid transmission solutions, and she heads human resources there. You can follow her on LinkedIn, the link for which has been shared in the chat window. So back to my panelists who are eagerly waiting to have this discussion and to start off. Yeah. So as you know, we've been having this, introduction where we said that, we're having HR professionals who are evaluating artificial intelligence and automation in the space of what are the ethical practices or considerations that we need to review. So, Mr. Sagar, I'd like to, take a stab at this with you, maybe, to begin this off with that. There are multiple facets in the HR space, and AI is something that permeates across. So what, in your opinion, are, possibly 2 important faculties that have been impacted by AI and automation? And do you think there are any specific ethical considerations that we should be looking at?
Sure, Tina. Good afternoon, all the panelists and all the participants. I think pleasure to be here and talking about this most talked about subjects. I think over the last couple of months, whatever HR conferences that we have seen happening, I think they are happening on this subject. So moreover to talk about this. Thank you, Tina, for the wonderful introduction. And now I'm coming to this topics which are either impacted or benefited out of AI in the employee life cycle, and that has to be managed by the HR. I think the first, introduction to the applicant tracking system way back in 20 2010, about 11 years back, was the first footstep of what AI can do. We all know what resume parsing was, and how AI can intelligently pick up a few components of the CV and make some summary out of the candidate and so on and so forth. I think there are tools which are available in the market, and I think the technology has kind of crossed a lot of journey from 2010 to 2023 to kind of when the recruitment professional is publishing the vacancy, there are tools which are capable to reach out to the suitable candidates, check their interest, make them apply for this position on the system, ask them relevant questions, check their competencies in behavioral and technical skill sets, ask them questions on why do they want to change, what do they want to become in their career in 4 or 5 years down the line, and what is attracting them to the company, etc., and give a good summary as to, out of the total approached candidates, which all are the first 10 top candidates matching the job requirement. I think this is already there with few tools which are available, and going forward, it will mature in such a way that you kind of get the best of the fits. This job today is done by the recruiters, the sourcers. The human touch may be required when the candidate is looking to speak to the candidate, speak to the HR or the recruiter. AI can do the rest of the job. So I think that is a combination which is required. But the area which is getting largely impacted is recruitment. There are tools which are available which can read through LinkedIn profiles, resumes on Naukris and IIMs and Insta Hires and Monsters and Time Jobs and so on and so forth, and get the best out of the available information about the candidate and make a summary of the candidate. And that helps to rank the suitable candidates, and that's where the algorithm works with. So I think the first area that I see getting impacted, or rather I would say getting benefited for the organization to select the best candidate, is recruitment. And the second area that I see is employee engagement. I prominently recollect two products where we have, I have personally, seen the demo of those products, where, they are integrated with the existing HRMS. And the tool keeps asking a lot of questions on the chatbot to the employees on the regular basis. And we all know we keep doing ESATs and employee engagement surveys and so on and so forth at quite regular intervals. This tool is capable to interpret the answers given by the employees and make some sense out of those answers with the algorithm that the product has, and let you know as to the kind of policies, benefits, and the processes that you have. Are they actually being acceptable? People are happy about it or not? So basically, ESAT happens once or twice in a year, but this is a very regular tool. It is integrated with the HRMS and it works 24/7. The choice of whether to answer the chatbot questions lies with the employee. He or she can always, choose to not to answer the question. But at the end of the day, when you talk about the period of 3 months, 6 months, you definitely have one summary of what people think about and how are they responding to various questions. So there are tools available in India, made in India, and of course, they are integratable with the current HRMS system. So there are two prominent areas that I could see where AI is widely used, can be used, and going further, it will further mature. Now, coming to ethics, I guess the algorithm, the information that is being collected from the candidate at the time of recruitment or at the time of employee engagement questions which are being asked on the chatbot, I think the declarations or the kind of questions and the kind of use the algorithm which is being used has to be published by the HR team to be more ethical. I think the tools will evolve further as we see, from last 4 or 5 years how AI has evolved. I think it will further mature, and the ethics limits to the tool when they are buying, the HR team is buying the platform, integrating it with the current HRMS tool. I think all these aspects have to be taken care of.
Thank you, Sagar. I think very beautifully launched and very apt. In fact, these are two areas that have really matured in the AI space. And with that, I'd like to move on to the next question, which is actually kind of an output of that when we adopt such when we adopt HR faculties in the spaces that have been mentioned so far, and we'll restrict it to, let's say, recruitment and employee engagement, because the application is really across. What are the kind of potential biases that could possibly emerge? And this is something that I'd like to speak to the whole group, that while we are looking at these two faculty areas, there are biases that are definitely yet to come in. And what Mr. Sagar has put across are the solutions to avoid that. So before we get that, I wanted to come back to the biases. So biases could be of two types. Because this is being created by a human, there could be human-assisted bias. And the second one would be that the algorithm itself is faulty. Now, let me give an example out over here. And when we are talking about especially the human-assisted bias, as I had introduced the topic, finally, artificial intelligence is an algorithm plus data being used, and you get an output of optimized results, right? So what is that data that is being provided to this particular algorithm actually determines the output. For instance, when you look at the job descriptions that are being published out in the industry, all right, so when you're looking at your sourcing the entire ATS space of the HRMS, at that point of time, there's a job description that we create, and we typically use certain words that where we describe the position that we're looking out for a candidate. And there was a research where the analysts had actually put down a very clear statement where they were looking out for professional engineers in the construction industry. And they had put, we are a dominant engineering company that boasts of many leading clients. Now, in this, there are some critical words out over there: dominant, leading, which are words that have a very negative, or for that no positive connotation, to ensure that you're able to attract a workforce which is women. Now, when we are having this job description, if we have the recruiter actually being aware of this matter, then you are able to actually produce an outcome which will be able to draw your population from both the areas. So let's say, for instance, then the researchers, what they did is that, because they were only able to attract male applicants for this, they changed the wordings. They put in words which also draw in women. And that was, we are a community of engineers who value client relationships. Here, community and relationships are two words which statistically actually align with them. So if humans, or as individuals, or as HR professionals, we are aware that these are certain biases that can naturally come in and they have a statistical impact, then the input that can be put into that particular algorithm will actually help you draw a correct representation across the various groups. So this is one type of human assisted bias that you would see. Another one is the algorithm itself is incomplete. And, quote unquote me, when you're looking at it, Facebook, Google do have this problems right now, especially on the jobs that they post. So there was, again, here a research over here where they had posted in jobs to advertise the role of a cashier, the role of a taxi driver, and the role of a high paying executive. Okay. The job was posted or was presented to 85% women when it came to cashiers. It is presented to 75% Black men when it was about a taxi driver. And when it was a high paying executive job, it was to white males. So 75% white males. So what happens is that this is an algorithm that is behaving based on the data that has been submitted to it. And that's the reason where the algorithm itself could go wrong. So these are two areas of biases that do seep in. And then I'm sure each one of you have also experienced this, where you have to then get back, like you said, Sagar, that, when you're signing the deal with the HRMS vendor, you're actually getting to understand from them what are the fields based on which you're getting it done. So with that, I'd like to move, to my next panelist out over there. Prableen, we are seeing such biases coming through, right? So in your opinion, do you think, that AI system should be held accountable to be making such critical decisions? Are they, really reliable?
You mentioned very beautifully about the biases which may impact the decision making, and human bias and the data related bias. So when the question is that whether it is reliable or whether AI can be held accountable, so what actually artificial intelligence or AI technology is? It is simply a machine, which is trying to imitate or adopt or work or behave like human intelligence. So how it is working? It is working on the basis of various algorithms which are fed into the system, and then they analyze data, the huge amount of data which is fed into the system based on the algorithm functioning. So how are we actually designing those algorithms? That is very, very important. So today we are seeing artificial intelligence is actually a very powerful decision-making tool, which has potential to transform business. And the usage, the reachability, the tool adoption is increasing day by day in the industry. A lot of industries have already adopted it. They are already getting benefits out of it. And while they are actually using it, so these questions are coming up, whether these algorithms are designed based on the ethical standards, whether enough inclusiveness has been made as a part of this AI system, or they are already designed or integrated into the algorithms to behave in an ethical manner, behave on the principles of inclusiveness, the ways you have mentioned about the job advertisement, that how to actually attract various genders, not only focused on one particular area. So is the algorithm designed in that fashion to give us the correct output? So that actually becomes very, very important. However, when the artificial intelligence potential is actually revolutionizing the decision making in the industry and helping us to analyze larger chunk of data within no time, which actually human being himself may have taken a lot of time. Like we have examples of recruitment from Sagar, but what are the various challenges which we are facing today for making AI accountable, AI decision output reliable for us to use? Challenges today which we are facing basically, are there enough data scientists? Are there enough developers? Are there enough engineers with the specialized skills who are existing, who are working on it? Are they taking care of all these principles while designing the artificial intelligence tool? There is a beautiful tool, a framework, which was published by Microsoft in a very, very initial phase. And that tool was based actually on these principles: fairness, reliability, ethical standards, inclusiveness, accountability, and transparency. So it is very important when we are using this tool, when the organization is using this tool or adopting this tool from somewhere, they should be well aware how the tool has been designed, how the tool will actually in future give us ethical and responsible outputs. So as AI system will become more sophisticated, they are going to gain so much access to the sensitive information. And this actually is raising concerns today, that how that information will be used, how that information will be protected. So there are so many talks today going around it, that do we need to have AI governance committees in place, which are going to audit the AI tool on the perspective of these 6 principles, so as to protect the larger interest of the community. So this is raising ethical concerns about privacy of the data, about any biases which may become part and parcel of the algorithm which has been designed, if the algorithm is in itself faulty or incomplete. So as this is becoming more sophisticated, so it's very important to be aware of how we are going to make the AI tools reach to larger masses. And the more we are going to adopt this technology, so the right governance needs to be put in place. So these are various challenges which industry is definitely facing today. They are aware of, and there are a lot of work which is going around it today in the industry. So if I say way forward, yeah, there is enormous potential with AI existence in place. The AI technology has got great potential of making faster decision making based on the data sets which are provided, which are fed into the system. And human beings, we are going to get more insights in very, very faster speed with much operational efficiencies. Yeah, but implementing AI is posing certain challenges, which is access to accurate data, which is access to unbiased data. And that is what has necessitated the need to have skilled professionals who are having expertise to develop and maintain AI systems based on the 6 beautifully designed principles, which I just mentioned, that will lead to much better cost-effective solutions, which are in the boundaries of ethics, which are in the boundaries of inclusive principles, and much more reliable. So as this tool is more evolving, is getting mature day by day, so we as part of the organization should stay informed about the latest developments, should stay informed about the new cases for the technology, and also prioritize ethical considerations when implementing AI in our organization. So it's very important that we should have governance committee around it when we are going to implement AI tools in our industry, in our organization, which should be based on ethical standards, much transparency, larger access to information, be aware of the technology, and also best practices for the collection and the usage of data should be put in place. The more the data is clean, ethical, inclusive, the algorithms will work in a better way and will be responsible also, accountable also, and reliable also. But right now, this AI tool in itself is today at a stage which is, it's still evolving, it's still getting mature. So before it goes in the hands of the masses, we need to develop a governance around AI tool, and organizations who are into building AI tools, or any organization which is trying to build such tool in-house, must be very, very aware that they are using right algorithms based on these 6 beautifully designed principles of Microsoft.
Yeah.
So this is what I would like to say about this, that how the data can be reliable, how the data can be accurate. Yeah, results can be
So
reliable.
yes, I think Prableen point very clearly made. Okay, can I request? There's a echo, right?
Yes. Echo.
Yes, it's begun again. Okay, so yeah, probably very rightly put, when we are looking at the kind of aspects that are really coming through, we do see that AI has its uses and its advantages on how it's serving the serving the HR professionals to ensure in better decision making. However, with any technology or with any new legislation, there definitely comes, a set of people who have to ensure that there is control, to ensure that there are, executive members who actually are overseeing and overlooking the entire gamut, which is something that will build strength into the system, because we cannot wait for, an idea really to mature and reach its stage. So yes, that is something which is a point at which we cannot put things in black and white. While the new idea has come in, and it poses its challenges, as we had mentioned, in terms of biases coming through, but we need certain bodies to take care of it. Now, since we've come to a point to say that AI systems are some things that are here to stay, how is it being viewed by HR professionals? Is it being viewed as a threat? Is it being viewed that is going to impact job security? What is the future of work? And how do you see it, Mr. Milind? Sorry, Milind Mutalik.
Thank you. So I think a lot of great points being made by all the panelists. So thanks to HR AI to bring us all together on the platform and the panelists to make the great points. I think probably the most difficult question has been given to me. So I'll try and work on it to see. One of the very important thing, I'll kind of look at this question in two ways. One is what is that which HR can do? And two, what is the impact on the jobs which we see typically coming up? I hope I'm clear. You are able to hear me well? Yep. Okay. So coming to first today, as the other panelists also have made a mention, it's a beginning. It's a curiosity, which is, now how from curiosity we bring it to a use of it. Every HR has this question in the mind. So first, let's talk about, many researchers like, even McKinsey, or for that matter, World Economic Forum, have predicted some job impacts and other things. I would not call it a job loss, with the reason that it has still not happened. So I'm saying it's an impact predicted that it's going to be a problem. But what is that which HR can do to be there or do certain things in the right manner? First of all, look at where are you currently and how do you adopt this? Adoption is going to be always one of the very important points. Take a leadership in this. Now today HR will have to have their strategy aligned to AI strategy. If you look at what is that HR strategy you have currently and how is that going to align with link with the HR strategy to AI? First point. The second is we need to build the HR within HR the AI talent. If we don't do that today, I don't know how many HRs are skilled really to look into the AI talent or understand it completely. While we are reading, understanding, but is there somebody who's able to really help us within HR? Because as we expanded from the past, we have started adding up the so-called business analyst in our team, so-called data analyst in our team, and so on and so forth. So accordingly, we need to look at even expanding it to see further. Okay. Third part is be part of every committee, be it a risk assessment, be it a design of the system, be it a data provider, regulation. So be a part of it. Don't be an active member into it to kind of drive it in the right manner. And that's something which is so participation, creating a talent, aligning your strategy are the first few points I would say. Now coming to something which I read and I'm trying to connect, Dave Ulrich very recently said, what are the future competencies? Today, power skills and others are the competencies which HR will have to have. But some of the important competencies which he has talked about is critical system thinking. I know we have been looking at it, but we have been finding that majority of the HR is focused on to so-called people aspect. But here you need to have critical system thinking also along with it. Number two, very importantly, broadly said, but very difficult to do, simplify the complexities. Now, we generally known to be a jargon-based. Many a times, we give some small, names and people are not able to understand. So we need to simplify the complexities, mobilize the quality of data and information. And everyone knows that Amazon has come with the kind of a problem saying they are able to hire gender biases, which has been shown. It is based on their last 10 years data. Now, are you able to get the data which is really right and qualitative by which you're able to get the output? So being conscious of the data. And then scaling, how do you look at the scaling? Now, these are some of the aspects I would say HR need to look into. Coming to a job impact, as I made a mention, there is automation potential And the whole India working population divide shows that about 32% of full-time employees or the working population is in the service industry. Now, majority of it falls into, or where the potential of automation is there, is banking, financial, insurance, telecom, retail, capital markets, and so on, so energy, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at percentage has been given that some of them are able to do up to 50%, some of them are able to do up to 20%. And based on this, typically, like, scaring figures having come in March 2023, Goldman Sachs is say 300 million jobs will be impacted by 2030. Then came in, in World Economic Forum in March said 85 million jobs will be impacted by 2025. And all this would happen in advanced and emerging economies. Now we are emerging economy, so we have to really be keeping an eye on it, what it is. At the same time, the research has come in which says that 69 million new jobs will be added up by 2027, which are AI-enabled or AI-dependent jobs. So I think there is a quid pro kind of where there is an impact, there is a working on it. So what's happening in reality is it has been said by McKinsey Research that, the AI techniques, whatever today jobs we have, it can have the adoption or, link of improving to the extent of 80% of what you're doing today. Okay, and that based on this, typically, there are three categories which are emerging. The first one is where there is going to be impact on the job. And when I will read out the list, I made the list ready based on some of the downloads. Obviously, these days, you don't apply a lot of creativity. You have a lot of data which you can download. So I've done this way that, job roles which can be impacted. When I read it out, you will realize some of these roles are really not being greatly used by us. And second one, the one which are not going to get impacted, probably because still the AI version of it has to come in where they can replace HR completely. Okay. And then there are new jobs which are emerging. So let me read out quickly a list for everyone. Okay. The customer service representative job will go away. I think part of it is already gone with the help of, so-called bots which we have with us. Receptionist, I don't see much of a receptionist around, but it's being said there. It's based on the analysis. And that's where at the end of it, I'm going to ask everyone what is the long form of GPT. If anybody tried to know it and, have they decoded it, and I'll tell you what it is. Meanwhile, people can Google it. Okay, customer service representative, receptionist, account bookkeeper and data entry operators, taxi and truck drivers, door-to-door salesman, retail services, proofreaders, translators, security and military personnel, surgical assistant, courier services, bank trailers, clerks, and postal service clerks. These are the jobs going to be impacted. Look at your organization, how many of them you employ. I'm just giving a general statement, not for or against. Now, what are the jobs which can't be replaced? It says, CEO, or the decision-making job where there's a lot of management input required, which is intangible rather than tangible, where, automation is difficult because it's a decision-making process, which is different. Then lawyers, graphic designers. So I'll give you two examples here. The lawyers tried to get the GPT, kind of data and tried to give to a judge, and they were fined for $5,000 in US very recently. Same way, January 2023, the rule has come in New York saying that any recruitment ATS system which you're picking up, you need to have first and foremost non-bias certification from the regulated body. Till then, you can't implement it. Now look at this. Automatically, there are a lot of forces coming in where the decision making will not be only led to the system, but people will get it. Graphic designers, editors, computer scientists, PR manager, event planner, marketing manager, teacher, educationist, writer, and authors. I think some part of it, if I read some roles and manage, kind of try to crunch it, HR is doing majority part of it. Okay, so HR is definitely not to worry. Now let me come to a new job creations and look at this is very interesting. Data scientist. We do have data scientists, but the role will enhance because the whole peculiarity is very high. The whole success or failure is based on the data scientist. AI ML engineers. Okay, data labeling professionals. So we're going to say this data is usable, not usable, so on and so forth. Hardware specialists, which are in part of AI. Digital transformation specialist. I forgot to make a mention that HR will have to, they have gone through the changes, but change management is going to be one more critical aspect. Business intelligence analyst, because see, this is going to be a competition based, and that being a reason, information security analyst and robotics engineers. So these are some of the jobs we say they are new created job. They would be around, but the enhancement of it is going to be much higher. So I'm saying HR part, be more vigilant, accept it, but make your plan ready, have your strategy, be part of it. Again, one more thing, whenever the changes or so-called transformation happens, how much role HR has to take, they have to decide. To be successful, HR has to be very, very active. And on the other side, say there is going to be impact which has been talked about by researchers. So be careful, see that we are able to enhance our part in a much better way. Okay, thank you. That's my submission.
Thanks, Milind. So I guess the answer to everybody is that if there are roles that are becoming redundant, there are roles that are getting created on the other hand. And you know what, Milind, I had actually come across some very interesting articles, and I would recommend this very strongly to all those in the HR. That is 21 Jobs of the Future. This is a paper that Cognizant actually published. Beautiful. They've said that in the future, there are going to be roles such as, chief purpose planner, distraction prevention coach, which, I can see it evolving right now. I mean, you have every individual who spends at least a good 2 hours during the day just looking at the mobile. And it takes you a good 7 minutes to actually come and regain the kind of focus that you want to with respect to work. And you will see HR professionals who are taking sessions, conducting sessions on wholeness, life coaching, etc., so that they're able to build in that level of strength. So the profession is evolving, and like how AI is one of the waves, you will have that impact also, as you mentioned, data scientists, data engineers, change managers. During the pandemic itself, we had gig economy managers, second act coaches, work from home facilitators, and that's how HR professionals are going to evolve. So I guess that's good news for all. And but like you said, that vigilance is extremely important, and the preparation is something that is even more important. So with that, I'd like to put that across as a point to the whole panel. With artificial intelligence and automation making such a strong move into the industry, what do you think? Is it a fad that'll come and go, or do you think it is here to stay?
Okay, so
You want to go, Prableen? Go ahead. Yeah.
all right. Okay. So, Tina, I think very beautifully explained about the competences which we need to hone to be future ready. So HR to be future ready need to hone certain competences. And very beautifully explained that we need to be part of each and every committee or the complete workflow of the establishing AI system in the organization, to be aware and also to integrate ethics into it, checking, governing, auditing at every step and at every stage. So, intelligence analyst. So beautifully, everything is getting correlated. So to be brief, thank you so much for bringing such a detailed data on this forum and helped all of us to understand how it is going to evolve in the future. So when I take a cue from Milind, I won't say that it is a fad. It is very much going to stay with us. Automation is also one of the things which happened a couple of years ago or many years ago. And at that point of time also, there was a worry. There were people believe we'll do the job. Right? In HR also, there was so much of worry. But then digitization is a buzzword. We're trying to digitize everything and making the world so small. The reachability, accessibility is so easy today. We can reach out and make and connect people to the systems sitting miles and miles away. So digitization is also one of the ways of change. And we accepted it, we adopted it, and we evolved in the process. So I'm sure with this AI which is getting mature, and we all are talking about ethical standards, eradicating bias, but who will do that? we as custodians of the ethics and code of conduct of organization will be required the foremost. But that also emphasizes that that this AI is not here to replace the jobs, but it is only to augment our skills to make us future ready for the world which is going to be driven by technology. Yeah, in the future.
Okay.
And right at the moment also. So I would say yes, it is going to stay here, but it is on us as human beings. Way back, atomic energy was identified. So it was identified for what purpose? For construction or destruction. But it is in our hands, human beings, how we are going to use that nuclear energy for construction or destruction. So again, in the same manner, AI is a tool. We are going to use it to build the world or to destruct. Again, it is in our hands. So when we, today, all of us coming together to discuss on ethics in automation and AI, it means we as human beings are worried also that with this beautiful technology which has come to fore and now is in use in the society, how to use the tool in the constructive manner.
Okay.
So we
Praveen,
are
due to paucity of time, probably, yeah. Sorry, I'd like to just take that. So, Sagar, Milind, there's a point that Praveen has just put across.
Yeah, I want, Saga, you want to go? Otherwise, if I start, I'll take 3-4 minutes.
Well, I think right by so I was not optimistic about. I started with this one optimism that is going to stay. It's not a fact. I think technology that has advanced over the last couple of years. There is a product development that we all know the graph of any product maturity to from the evolvement to the maturity in that sense. The data, the McKinsey says that from 2021 to 2023, in just 2 years, the usage and the product development on AI has grown by 270%. So as education, courses, skill development courses, and so on. So the industry in itself, not only industry in itself, is getting ready to welcome mature and a full-fledged AI product. And I'm sure it is going to stay, it will mature, it will definitely help, unless it is used in a very, very productive and ethical way.
Sure. So my perspective is, a bit of a reality check on the whole thing. So I like as a HR professional, all of us are HR professionals, those who are listening or those who are participating here. If I'll take you back into history, 1924 to 31, there was a experiment which was done of Hawthorne experience, which talks about, various aspects. I'll not go into the details, but I will say 2 aspects, which are 2 outcomes which had come from that. One is, what you need typically a peer working to be successful, because man is a social animal. And the second one, it says, the behavior under scanner is a different behavior than the natural. I'm trying to put this point because the minute you start putting the whole systems in the place or machines in the place, you will not find the genuinity from the behavior. Probably is the perspective I'm trying to do. Number one. So behavioral aspect, or being together that's where every organization is asking people to come back to collaborate. Okay, so that's the first aspect I'm talking about, a reality check. The second one, if I would say that, if you look at versus the Western world, our adoption of any new technology is very low. So if today's parameters, some of them show that we are adopting the new technologies at the level of 12% versus 35% of the advanced nations. Let me give you some of the, maybe last 5, 7, 8 years terms which had come in, but which are not fully adopted. Okay, number 1, blockchain. Number 2, robots or robotics. Number 3, I need not say, but it's autonomous car. Now, these are some of the areas which shows that yes, there will be a new technologies coming in. Only one thing which I see is AI majorly being coming up or being demonstrated as not being completely controlled by human. Somewhere that kind of a part has been displayed for it. So this second option, second problem rather, I would say, is along with adoption is going to be control, where people will have whether I'm able to control the system or system is going to control me. That's going to be a second part which will come in. Intellectual property, how do we really care for it? Business continuity, how do we care for it? There's some of the questions still to be answered. We have fairness and bias aspect everyone has talked about. Another thing which we need to really understand is how are we going to deal with the service contracts with our clients? Or do we going to have a real problem saying that does our real customers need us or not? So the control aspect is the second part which I would like to talk about, or bring it to the attention of everyone. Third is a people aspect. I've talked about behavioral aspect, whereas lack of skilled people at this point of time, and it's going to be a curve to get this kind of experienced skilled people. Now once you get it, we all HR know that retaining them is going to be difficult because they're going to be a pricey folks who are just 25% of their skills in the market. Okay, and then people compliance. These are going to be the control issues according to me. The third part, I would say, last part I would say is other dynamics. It all depends on what is the journey of your organization. Okay, are you really able to today adopt the system within next 6 months time? You want to wait it for 1 year? What is your digital journey at this point of time? Have you got all systems integrated, working well for you? Do you want to adopt this and scrap all your systems, or do you want to go? So there's a big planning which is required based on your size, scale, your maturity of a business, as well as maturity of your automation. And currently it's a gray area. It's not black or it's not white. Neither is completely black nor is completely white. It's somewhere falling into the gray is my perspective. And India, if you look at today in AI maturity is talked about 2.45 on the scale of 4. But this 2.45 contains majority of the folks who are learning it or skilling it for providing as a service to the customers, which are not in India, but majorly overseas. And that's something which comes in from my side as, you are trying to look at the elephant, but like that 5 blind men in an elephant story, are you really clear which part of elephant you are able to know and work on? I think that's some of the pointers which I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thanks, Milind. And I think that's a formidable point that's really put across, that our organizations really able to, I know my video is not visible, but then I will just log in and log out after a few minutes. But I guess it's a very strong point that's been put across, saying that our organizations really able to adapt it. So Sagar, Prableen, in your experience, you've had HRMSs, etc. being implemented, which have the AI part of it. Do you think it is really getting implemented to the extent that we're talking about? It is a far-fetched dream, or something, that is yet to reach that level of maturity?
So, Tina, as AI is still getting matured, even our economy and the readiness of our industries is also still on the way. We can't say very clearly that, our segment of industries is ready to adopt AI in totality. So it's a divide. There may be some organizations in information technology who are quite digitalized and are in position, maybe technology centers are in position to adopt this tool in totality. And in India, there are still industries who are doing very well, who are big houses with large turnovers, but they are still on the way of digitalization. So not ready for adopting AI. So as this tool is on the way of getting matured or evolving in the same fashion, the awareness, knowledge of this tool still has to get sync in the society. It's still limited to certain masses of the people, to certain segments, who are getting so, there's anxiety also of accepting this change, and there is eagerness also of accepting this change. So both the things are there. But it is not that our society as a whole is fully aware of the AI tool and is ready, industry is ready to adopt the technology. When you're talking about the algorithms, whether they are made on the principles that data is totally unbiased, or is being handled by a very highly skilled data engineer or scientist who's working on it on the same manner in the industry for which or where it is going to get established, that industry is ready or not ready, that also poses a lot of questions and also challenges. Because the kind of data I'm going to feed into, I'm going to get out the information in the same perspective. So I would say yes, on the same side, the way this tool is getting matured, our economy, our industries are also on the way of evolution to accept this change. So yes, at the same time, when this question is posed, I would also say that well, AI may have a lot of capabilities and abilities to do the data analysis, throw up the right information in a shorter version, but still, I would say human beings have larger abilities to deal with the complex situations, complex thinking ability, which I think AI is not ready for that aspect. So the tinge of human factor still is very, very relevant at each stage of what all functions we are dealing in today.
True, true.
That is
So-
still very relevant. Yeah.
True. Prablin, thanks for that. Sagar, anything?
Yeah, Tina, I think I agree with Prablin and possibly with Milind also. The perspective that I'm trying to put in here is that I personally definitely do not think that it's a fad. It is definitely a solid, foundation stone that the industry is, making up to. And maybe, few years down the line, we'll see that it is getting matured. We all know that, couple of years when we used to search for a holiday or a air flight or a hotel, Google would start showing the same kind of advertisements on our browser, and that was the first introduction to us as AI, as a system intelligence.
Yeah.
But I also agree with Prablin that emotional intelligence and empathy, these are two aspects which are not going to be covered by AI at all, even if it is matured to a certain level. But if we really see the usefulness of AI as a tool, which let's say about 10 years back, the HRMS systems were developed. Today, they are on mobile as well as on the web interface. We all know what chatbot is all about. Similarly, I think the next step of this HRMS systems is artificial intelligence. I think that's where it is going to go to. It is going to throw a lot of data, but yeah, it is definitely dependent on the concerned HR team to use it in an ethical way, to not to use any personal data or objectionable data points of any employees or the candidates, so that it is used for the betterment of the organization and in turn betterment of the society. This tool definitely should not be used for the distractions, is what I definitely feel.
Thank you for that, Sagar. And, with that, I'd like to bring it, as promised to the entire audience, would bring it to a closure where you have the panelists who've put in questions to your mind. They've left those questions out to you to saying that these are the ethical considerations that exist in this new wave that has come in. How is it that you are experiencing it? We would like to hear from you. So Faisal, we would just like to take 5 minutes in terms of questions, and then we would like to close this. I know we are a little short of time here, but
Yes.
then you have to give me 5 minutes because we
Sure.
started off. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. So yes, so we'd like to hear from all HR professionals on the call that is there anything that you've experienced in the area of artificial intelligence, especially where there were ethical dilemmas that you had to experience, elements to do with people, decision making, the kind of engagement that you have, anything at all?
So request the participants to please put it on the chat window. If you cannot, you don't want to put on your video and audio. So by the time, Mr. can we do the poll? We can run the poll. So that
Yes,
we can
yes,
get
yes.
the
You can put the
participants'
poll.
feedback.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right. In the meantime, request all the participants to please answer the question that has been asked by Ms. Tina. And you can put it down in the chat window.
I think we're coming in the way of the chai break of everybody right now.
Looks like.
It's raining in Bombay. I don't know the rest of the country, but I'm sure it's time for tea break for a little bit of cutting chai.
One question that has come up.
Oh yeah, cutting chai.
So we have one question from Nisha, Ms. Tina, if you can take that.
Yes. So heavily, 1 second, I can't see the whole question. What are the potential consequences of relying too heavily on artificial intelligence and automation in the industry? And how can organizations strike a balance between technology and human touch? Anyone would like?
Yeah, so from my point of view, when you are designing a system, and I'll tell you, I've read very recently article on robotics, and ABB as an organization which works in a engineering parts, they have done a lot of robotics, and they said nobody wants to work with the industry where there are no human beings. So they say unless there is a soul, nobody wants to work. So they have made even robots to have a human aspect of it, in the sense robots can kind of give a compliments to people who are feeding in the information to them or passing on the part to them. So no system will able to work for a people unless there is a emotions and the aspect of human being integrated or embedded in it. So just imagine, no, you being having, you're traveling anywhere and there is no people around you, how comfortable you would be. So I'm saying we are talking about a future, but there has to be a right balance. What is that right balance? Each one will decide. Like example, industry where there is a hazardousness, I think the system will do everything. But the industry where there is a definite interaction required, now example, if employee is not eligible for particular thing, the system will tell him, no, you're not eligible. Now, you know the consequences, what will happen if it's a critical talent. When it's HR talking, they will balance it out. You know what? And we'll give all stories and then try to give the news. I think there is a definite balance required, a right question. And I think time will tell us based on what industry, what topic we are managing. That would be my submission.
And Milind, I think over there, you very clearly in the question that was asked, that is there a job security, etc. Very clearly you mentioned over there, roles which are very transactional will move out. And those are the ones where AI and automation will really contribute. And it's especially in spaces where you need to have tough conversations, you need to have sensitive conversation, that HR will play a major role, and that's where AI will have very little to do. Very true.
Not so, even I would say that it may actually enhance or increase the job requirements, softwares, hardwares, how to build that employee experience. It can't be so mechanical. We have faced this challenge during COVID when work from home was so in, but do we really want to continue work from home for eternity? We are gregarious by nature. We need our own ecosystem. So confined in one room, working from home continuously didn't work. It affected us emotionally. So you need to have that emotional balance. So artificial intelligence and that human touch will work hand in hand. So it's only that HR function has to evolve and how it evolves, the answers are still lying in future. And maybe some of the organization who would adopt the technology, they will come up with the answers as well, that how the balance will be maintained between the AI technology and the existence of human beings. It's very rightly said, that someone approaching for some certain answer, there will be a standard answer from the machine. But from the HR person who is sitting, he will know how to maneuver through that situation. So that balance, that answer will definitely come in future. But yes, as we all are human beings, we need our own ecosystem and we need those social interactions going on.
Thank
So
you,
I'm
Praveen.
sure we will create a tool which would be in benefit for everyone.
Thank you, Prableen. And with that, I'd like to close. Sagar, a quick word you'd want to put, or?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to take the example of National Stock Exchange, which is the biggest stock exchange of the country, and in fact, whatever the number of the world. I think, what I know that, AI is definitely onto the use in NSE, where crores of Indians are trading their, things. There are multiple systems which are there put in, so irrespective of whether it is HR or, non-HR, any product, I think AI is going to be used. It's just that the conditions which are always different for the product, for the customers, conditions are different. Ethics, are for HR and so on and so forth. So I think it is here to stay. It is definitely not going to be faded away. And, it was just a spike. It is definitely going to stay here and, be a little more matured every year and every month that we are going forward.
It's just to sink in the society.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. And wonderful to have my entire esteemed panelists, Sagar, Milind, Prableen, and thank you, HRI. And the most important is, of course, all the young professionals who've been sitting with us throughout the session. We would have hoped for more questions, but please do send them across to Faisal, and I'm sure we'll still be keen to answer them. Yeah. Looking forward and
Thank
take
you,
care.
Tina, for being a right sutradhar for all of us. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Milind. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Faisal.
Thank you. Thank you, Tina, for taking us through this session and making it interactive and exciting. Thank you, Mr. Sagar, Mr. Milan, and Ms. Prableen for sharing your valuable thoughts and insights with us. It has been a privilege having you all for this in-person session. To all those who wish to learn and grow, you can access the recording of our today's session on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. Before we conclude with today's session, we would also want to thank all the event partners: Gracia, NASSCOM COE, Calgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local Ahmedabad and India for supporting HRAI's event. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Do join us for our next session on the Connecting the Dots on 13th of July, 2023. That's it from our today's webinar. Hope to see you soon. Stay safe, take care, and bye.
Thank you, Faisal.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.